What's your point?
My question...
Am I indoctrinating the dogs?
Well, I don't
Are the
know.
dogs Hamas?
My question... What is your name?
You can call me whatever you want. Goob, fat boy, whatever works.
Just tell us, how did you get into the world of social media?
I was a clown. I just wanted to make people laugh and distract them from the boring work. I went from being relatively obscure and unknown to the most viewed sketchmaker in the world.
Why are you so passionate?
I don't have a choice. Because after October 7th, 14 people in my family had been killed.
Hamas is an extremist Islamic organization. Its goal, destroying the state of Israel through jihad. It's not a question of...
Ask your questions.
Are you not nurturing a generation of hate against Israel, if not against Jews? You're listening to the Jeremy Dein podcast with me, Jeremy Dein KC. Our episode today is about a journey involving an escape, addiction, ingenuity, risk, and a transformation. This is the very special journey of today's important guest, Goob. Goob started posting YouTube videos over 9 years ago and now has over 18 million followers and over 500 million likes on TikTok. Though starting off making purely comedic content, he's recently become one of the most prominent voices on social media for Palestine. He's all of these things, and yet the most important thing I can say about Goob is that he is a close personal family friend. So Goob, it's great to see you and welcome to the Jeremy Dein podcast.
Thank you very much for having me on, Jeremy. I appreciate it.
First thing I want to ask you, Goob, is this. You are variously referred to as Goob and or Jube. Mm-hmm. What is your name?
So my name's Gibran. I'm named after a Lebanese poet called Gibran Khalil Gibran. By the way, everybody gets my name wrong, so it's actually Gibran. If you want to get it right, like how my mum would say it, Gibran.
So in the course of this discussion, shall I call you Gibran?
You can call me whatever you want. Goob, Jube, Gibran, fat boy, whatever works.
Right, well, I won't be going for the latter, but Gibran is actually quite a charming, sophisticated...
Yeah, sounds French, right?
Yeah.
But think of it like LeBron James, but Gibran James.
Have you actually read any of Gibran's poetry?
I've read some translations, yeah. Not my cup of tea, but he's... obviously, the name's famous for a reason. So.
Right.
He means a lot to some people.
All right. Well, look, I'm going to stick with Goob for the time being because that's what I know you as. All right. And can I just begin first of all? I'm going to ask you a bit about yourself, Goob, because you're a fascinating character.
Sure.
But what I want to begin with is to see how good your memory is. Okay.
Okay. Hit me.
So my first question of you is: you see this tattoo? Yes.
Yes.
Do you remember do you remember where this tattoo came about?
You got it done in Mexico, right? No, Thailand. You got it done in Thailand when we was on holiday together.
Absolutely, yeah. And you were. Do you not remember that you were with me on the night?
Was I?
It's 12 months ago, Goob.
I remember you getting.
It's 12 months ago.
Split off from the crowd at one point, and
no.
Don't you remember?
Let me remind you of what happened.
Tell me.
Your So his name's gone out of my mind for a moment. Sorry. Who's the really nice Albanian guy?
Endrit, my business partner.
So, yeah, exactly. Sorry. What happened that day was that there was a group of us, and I'll ask you more about the group in a moment, including my wife Lee, who visited Monkey Island off the coast of Phi Phi Island in Thailand.
I remember.
And your very, very close friend and an absolutely fantastic guy, Endred, was bitten by a monkey.
He was indeed bitten by a monkey.
Quite badly.
Badly, yeah.
So we all went on a boat to a hospital.
Yeah.
And while he was getting his injury patched up...
Yeah, you went off to get the tattoo.
I went off and got this tattoo and you were with me.
Yeah, it's come back to me now.
Yeah. And I was saying to you, Goob, if you remember, I had been very unwell last year and I wanted to get this tattoo, which is the burning bush. Something meaningful to mark my recovery. And I kept saying to you, shall I get this tattoo, Goob? And you typically said, go for it. So do you have now? Is it coming back to you? How this came about?
I remember now. Yeah, it's come back to me.
So I have to tell you that whenever I look at this tattoo, which I do a lot, it reminds me of you.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow, that's actually really heartwarming. I didn't know that.
There you go. Not so heartwarming that you better remember it.
Well, that's
yourself.
because I smoke weed. So I forget everything.
But can we just sort of discuss briefly how it was, in fact, that you came to be in Thailand at the same time as member of the Dein family? Because you are a very, very close friend and also, business partner of my son Julius Dein.
Yeah, he's my best friend, in fact.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's a very nice.
The Arab and Jew alliance.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's one of the incredible things about it. And you may remember or not remember, based on what your performance so far, that when we first met in Thailand, my principal task was to negotiate between you because you'd actually fallen out because of the way you said Julius had spoken to you.
Yeah.
And whatever the reality of the
you were a
situation,
fantastic mediator.
I mediated.
Yeah, because we're still best friends.
And
so
brought you back together again.
Did,
absolutely.
Yeah.
But you and Julius have both been incredibly successful YouTubers.
Yeah.
You'd agree with that?
Not YouTubers. Me and him wish we were successful on YouTube, if you'd ask him, we'd agree.
Sorry, so tell us what...
But on socials in general, I mean, Julius flew me out to Mexico once, and this was at a time when it was during lockdown, and he was like 100th in the world on Facebook, and I was like, I think 7th in the UK on TikTok, so we had our respective fields that we were massive in, but he ended up taking us from 100th in the world on his Facebook page to #1 in the world. Our only competition was T-Series and Coco Melon. So if you were to do your research there, that's astronomical numbers. So that's how our business relationship has worked in the past.
Well, can we just go back slightly and then come back to that? So you were actually born in Kuwait in 1990.
I was, yeah.
Is that correct?
During the invasion.
The Saddam Hussein invasion, which clearly you don't remember.
No.
And were both of your parents journalists?
My mum, for NBC, was a journalist while she was pregnant with me in Kuwait.
Right.
Yeah.
And so just tell us, where are your parents from?
So my dad's Lebanese Palestinian and my mum's Algerian.
Right.
I was born in Kuwait. So I'm like the mongrel of all Arabs in one.
Right. And were you brought up in Kuwait?
No. So my parents were British. They were in Kuwait at the time of the invasion. Because my mum was a British journalist, they had to be smuggled because obviously they would have been captured and used as ransom. My mum had to induce the birth of me a little bit early. I was smuggled with my family from house to house and travelled across the desert where my heart stopped and a doctor brought me back to life. And then my mum got to the British Embassy with my dad, and then the British Embassy flew us back. I'm like, I've got a newspaper, I should have brought it. I'm on the front page being held by my dad, coming off of a plane back to the UK.
So just in a sentence, so the reason why you had to be smuggled out of Kuwait was what?
My mum's a British journalist.
Right.
So they were just trying to capture anyone of value at the time. So...
Sorry, and when did you actually arrive in the UK? How old were you?
A couple of weeks, maybe.
Right.
Maybe a few days, I'm not sure. But I've got the newspaper.
Yeah.
It's amazing, honestly. It's a crazy start to life.
So there's a picture of you, a baby, on the front page of which newspaper?
God, I can't remember.
A British newspaper?
All I know is that the paper's yellow. So
right.
That's how long ago it was. I'm just showing my age. Newspapers are white now, but back then it was yellow.
So you're now 34, 33?
33, thank you 33, for exposing me.
Yeah. Well, that's an amazing start to life. Do you think that your formative experiences might have had an impact on the character that you become?
Yeah, 100%. I think that applies to everybody in life. I mean, whatever your experiences are, whether it's cultural or maybe that's just how you are as a person, I feel like that's what shapes you. And what shaped me was a lot of the things that I saw growing up.
Right. So just tell us, you grew up in the United Kingdom,
yes.
Yeah, with your living with your parents?
With my stepdad and my mum.
In which part of the country?
We were in Surrey.
Right. And what was your, childhood? What sort of boy were you? We'll talk about...
Can I swear?
Yeah.
I was a little shit. I mean, I'm surprised my parents didn't just put me up for adoption. I was really, really so badly behaved. But I wasn't. So
you and Julius had a lot in common, even from a very young age.
Probably, but I wasn't like violent, bad, or destructive. I was a clown. I just wanted to make people laugh and distract them from the boring work. I just wanted to laugh. That was it. I wanted to have fun.
So that's how you were even from the beginning?
Yeah, I think it had to do with a lot of the fact that my stepdad was quite strict. Like, because I was badly behaved, he'd punish me and he'd hit me and he'd do stuff like take away TV, and I wouldn't even if we're having dinner, I'd have to face away from the TV and stuff like that. So, and because I don't have access to TV, all I had was books. I guess it made me really want to act out when I'm away from home.
Where was your stepdad from? Was he British?
I'd rather not get into that.
Right. Okay. So just tell us, we know that you were brought up in the UK, as you've told us. You ended up going to Westminster University, was it?
I did, yeah.
And what did you study?
I studied journalism.
Right.
I was trying to be like my mum. So, like I said, she was a journalist. I used to watch her as a child on actual news. She was a news broadcaster.
Right.
So I think that's why I did English literature and language, drama and media at sixth form, and then journalism at university. I think I was trying to follow in her footsteps.
And is your mum still alive?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is she still working as a journalist, or she finished now? Yeah. So it's interesting that growing up, you were, badly behaved in the way that you've said. You were interested in messing around, tricks and so on, but you still harboured at least some ambition of becoming a serious, political journalist?
Investigative.
Yeah.
Or gonzo. I was like, journalism isn't just like working for the BBC and answering questions. It's such an interesting field. There's so many ways you can go down. It could be immersive as well. Like I read a book called what was it called? The Game, and he was a gonzo journalist that would infiltrate pickup artists. Those are people that use tricks to pick up women. It's for losers that don't know how to just be normal. But he was a gonzo journalist, and he immersed himself in that world and became part of that world. And for me, it was fascinating to see somebody in the line of work, almost like an actor, like embody whatever the role is, and then to
so it sounds like you finished.
Investigate it and then show the rest of the world their findings.
It sounds like, actually, I don't know if you remember, but I represented Talisa, the X Factor judge. Sounds like you wanted to be a fake sheikh, a Mazza Mahmood type character.
Maybe, who knows?
You'd have actually been an absolutely brilliant fake sheikh.
Maybe.
But, it's probably a bit late for you now, I don't know.
I'm a bit too exposed now. Everybody seems to know who I am.
Yeah. So from that point where you were interested in emulating your mum, he sounds like she did a very, very serious job, and actually a job that I quite fancied doing, because it was that or becoming a barrister. So I chose becoming a barrister, which is probably why I'm here today, because I've always been confused about what was the correct choice. Be that as it may, this is about you, not me. So here we are, right? And you've got, you've become such a successful, I'm going to call it performer. Just tell us, how did you get into the world of social media?
It's actually quite funny. I got my degree in journalism. I left university and I realised that 30 grand debt that I'm now in was worthless. I had to get a bar job and a window cleaning job, whilst having a radio presenting job and a TV presenting job. The radio and TV weren't paid, and the bar and the window cleaning were. So my life had now been work for this point where I get my degree and now I can't get a job, and now I'm cleaning. Not that it's an issue cleaning people's windows or being a bar back in a bar, but it's not why I got into 30k debt. And then I realised coming out of university, I was doing a documentary actually it's a mockumentary on the sex industry, and I ended up meeting a lady called Jasmine James, who's an adult entertainer. We done the documentary and then we ended up throwing it away. There was no congruence in the piece, we didn't like it, but we did a sketch together. And after we did that funny little skit, it done like 8 million views, which at the time is unheard of. This is 9 years ago. And I'd grown like 40k off one video, and I was like, wait, hang on a second. This is a career path right here. And it got to the point where we're so consistent with the views that I'd be cleaning someone's window up a ladder, and they'd be taking pictures of me through the window. So I was like, right, I need to just stick to the videos, I think, here. And then from there, I realised this is the early doors. I was a bit of a trailblazer. Something interesting, actually. Julius reached out to me. This is how we became friends.
Right.
Your son reached out to me after this is my 4th viral video, and he says, love what you're doing. I think you're going to be huge one day. Here's some advice. He gave me some industry secrets about something called share for share. If you don't know what it is, it's basically, as opposed to just uploading natively, I give content to bigger pages and they will share from my page. So he taught me about this mechanism. I went from being relatively obscure and unknown with a couple lucky virals to the most viewed sketch maker in the world for at least a year. So I actually owe a lot to Julius.
That's incredible. So Julius just reached out
out of nowhere.
How did he do it?
Just on a Facebook message or an Instagram message.
And at the time, Julius was embarking on his...
He was killing it. Julius was #1 most viewed influencer in the world at that time, really, because he was just absolutely killing it on Facebook, and he was doing pranks and magic, and he was hitting numbers that nobody had actually hit before, like 300 mil on a snake prank and stuff that was unheard of. He's the real trailblazer, really.
Right.
I kind of followed in his footsteps and then done it in my own path with the sketches and stuff.
I mean, most people still don't have a clear understanding of how the whole sort of world of social media works. You've told us about making £40,000 from one video, I think, or...
That's nothing.
So can you just... So, Goob, I just want to focus in a moment very briefly about the stuff that made you very, very successful. Sure. But, like, how does it come about? You make a video, and next thing you know, you've got £40,000 in your bank account.
Yeah. I
mean, is that just Julius's magic, or how does it come about?
No. There's 17-year-olds right now that are probably making 100K a month on Shopify, or they generate content. It's user-generated content where they they can literally just use AI to make original content. Original is AI, but still, and get paid tens to hundreds of thousands every month.
From where, though? Where does this money come from?
Ads, services, apps, brand deals, brand awareness. It can even be subtle. Like, you don't even have to even put them in the caption. Just by drinking a drink in a video, that's brand awareness, you know. There are, like, here's a great example. There's a rule of 1,000 to make money on social media. If you have 1,000 people that are willing to buy every month, that's it, your business is clear. You're gonna always be above your overheads. So now let's say I've got a Instagram page for my dog Fluffy, who's got 60K followers. Out of that 60K, they're willing to buy collars, dog food, like dog toothbrushes. Sounds silly to us, right? To them, that's a potential extra 1 to 60 grand a month in their pocket, just from residual from the views that they're getting and the traffic that it sends to whichever service or product that they're promoting. So that's where the money comes from. It's like saying to someone in the gym, but how do you get abs if you're doing biceps? It's like, well, because I did biceps today, I lost calories, and in turn, my abs started. Do you know what I mean? It's all interconnected.
Yeah.
It's like a spine. It all leads in the same direction. So if you have attention and you have a proof of concept, i.e., people being interested in your product, who's to stop you from selling?
So that's very clear explanation, but the reality is we all know that there's like a huge, massive, unthinkable amount of money in social media. I mean, what is your take on this? Because, you know, there are an awful lot of people in the world who are living on the breadline.
Yeah.
On one view, the amount of money, it's not dissimilar with footballers, that's channeled into social media is just totally obnoxious, isn't it? I mean, do you agree with that?
I don't think it's obnoxious at all. I mean, I think it's fair. This is capitalism, this is the market. If people are willing to spend, then who's to say it's obnoxious, really? If you think about it, if people are willing to spend and people are willing to stick their neck out and advertise, they're naturally going to meet some like magnetism, you know. But that being said, it is a bit sickening how much money there is to be made. But the world is changing. It's not about farming your land or... Do you know what I mean? Like, there's old school ways of making money or coming from old money. This is the fastest transfer of wealth we've ever seen in the history of humans.
Let's just compare, if we just compare, for example, someone who works 5 days a week, 8 hours a day in, let's say, manual labour and earns £20,000 a year, £25,000 a year, let's say, gross, and tax off that.
Sure.
And yet, in the world of social media, and obviously, you know, Julius is my son, I know you extremely well, I've come across many others. There are just infinite amounts of money floating around.
Okay, I got you.
But do you ever think about that? Is this something that troubles you in any way?
It doesn't trouble me at all. Here's why. And I've got you right now. What was the example you gave? A builder?
Well, let's say a builder, whatever it may be.
Let's just stop at builder.
Whatever it may be.
Let's just stop at builder. Just one example. You said it, not me. It's not
okay.
pre-written. This builder let's say he bricklays for the day. How hard is it for him to set up a tripod with a camera and and record for a couple hours whilst he's placing his bricks and make satisfying content? How difficult is that to do in addition to his current day? An extra 15 minutes of his day maybe, then go home and edit that content. So What that says is, okay, let's say not bricklayer. Maybe he cleans pools. There's a famous guy on TikTok right now. He cleans pools. He makes
swimming pools.
Yeah, he's called the pool guy. All he does is go to disgusting swimming pools, show how disgusting they are, and then show the process of cleaning them, and then the final result of it being clean. He took the initiative to film the content of the work that he does. There are now people that go and cut grass on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram. They don't even charge the person for cutting their grass because they make all their money off the videos. People just want
of cutting grass.
Cutting grass. People want to sit there and just watch satisfying content. So that's why I was saying it's not that crazy. It's like, you just got to do it.
So it sounds like inequality in the world isn't something that troubles you much.
But it's not. Okay, if the world is unfair, doesn't that make it fair? If it's unfair for everybody, that's
no,
fair.
it doesn't make it fair. It doesn't.
In my opinion, it makes it fair. If we're all.
Oh, sorry. Ask your question again.
So if the world is unfair,
yeah.
So it's unfair for everybody collectively. Technically speaking, wouldn't that put it under the umbrella of fair? So it's if you take that chance. If I buy a lottery ticket, I'm not going to be mad, and I win. You can't be mad at me for buying that lottery ticket. You could have bought it too. Same with the videos. Same with living in a world where, like I told you, I finished uni. I had a bar job that worked till 5 a.m. and then I have to leave the house at 7:30 a.m. to go do the window cleaning job. Nobody cared about me. Then I did the videos on top of all that, and then I made it through. So that's my point. Like, yeah, you might be in a position where you're stuck, but I promise you, if you find a side hustle that you truly believe in and you work towards it, there could be monetary and financial gain there, whether or not you're in a terrible position. Now, obviously, if you can't afford a phone or you're truly in famine, that's where, or if you're truly in poverty, then that's where it may be difficult for you to break in, especially if you're in a country where it may not be allowed or the possibilities of monetization aren't there. Then I understand, and that's where the crux of it being unfair applies.
Okay, that's fine. Can we just, before we move on to other topics, I just want to ask you, let's say, give you an example, or talk about an example of your work.
Sure.
So what we've got here, this is a clip which I'm sure you'll remember. It's the one where you're on a beach and you're asking girls if they've got a message for their ex-partners.
Yes.
Can we just have a quick look? If we could just have a quick look at it.
Do you have a message for your ex?
Yeah, hold my phone. I'll put it in your ear.
Hello?
The number you have dialed doesn't
Do you have a message to your ex?
You're a piece of shit.
Oh, excuse me, do you have a message?
No cameras.
Why? We're in public.
Because I faked my death 8 years ago and the government can't find out, bro.
What the fuck?
Can you delete this, please? Can you delete it?
No. Right, that's enough of that trash.
Okay, so what I want to ask you is, like, that was a very successful piece of footage.
That got, I think, over 10 mil,
10 million, yeah. So how do you actually come up to make something like that? Do you just wake up in the morning and say, right, like a brainwave comes to you, I'm going to do something on asking people about what message they've got for their ex? How does the concept come about?
It's such an easy and difficult question to answer because it is as simple as just going, right, we're going to go out and film the video and see what happens. But then it's also as difficult as saying, but that night before, so what you don't know about that video is, I wrote, some of those are fake. I wrote the answers for some of those people. The first 3 clips are the most important clips. I knew those people and I brought them to the beach myself.
Right.
Sorry to destroy the illusion for you, but I'm trying to pay my bills. And so so it is easy, but it's also difficult too. I have to write the jokes, I have to understand the trend, I've got to then edit it, I've got to bring the people along to make sure I get it'd be like, and if someone's upset about that, it'd be like being upset at the wrestling for being fake. It's just like, you fool, you're supposed to buy into it. It's entertainment, Some of it is real, and that's where the enjoyment factor comes in. But some of it's fake. That's my hook to get you in, to make you watch the video.
Yeah. Does that happen a lot?
Or in social media?
Yeah, in social media, does that fake element happen a lot?
90% of all content that is like along those lines is fake. If it's community-based, then it's not fake.
Right.
Yeah. But that content where it's just a cheap hit and a viral, there's no real community being built off it, no real value, apart from just making someone laugh, then it's probably fake. Most of the time.
And if you get, is it 10 million hits on that? What's the correct terminology? 10 million views.
Yeah.
And in terms of monetization, the more views you get, the more money you make, or not?
Yes, technically, but the content has to be monetized and it has to be eligible to be monetized. That video wasn't even a minute long, so if we were to monetize it on like TikTok, for it being under a minute, you get paid pennies on the dollar for that. It's
Right.
nothing significant.
And just before we move on to other matters, you've told us about some time you spent in Mexico. You actually, during COVID, I think, Julius, yourself and others had what was called a footage house or footage houses.
A production house.
Yeah, in
Content
Mexico.
house.
Content house.
Yeah.
And that was really successful, wasn't it?
It was astronomically successful. We went from relative obscurity. I mean, we're known, but nobody special. We couldn't really draw in a huge crowd if we wanted, to being the most viewed production house in the world. To even rub shoulders with T-Series and Coco Melon is so unfathomable. It just sounds like words. But what I'm telling you is T-Series at one point is growing 1 million followers every couple of days in their heyday, and they are backed by basically just imagine a Bollywood entity. That's basically India we're up against. Coco Melon is the most popular children's TV show, but on YouTube. Nobody competes with these two entities. We did. And that was with my production team, which was a sister company of Julius's actual production company. So he ran a tight ship and we went to #1 and we did it for a long time. That being said, it was during the middle of lockdown, so we had less competition, but even so, you're talking about anywhere from 20k to 100k in expenses that month, me and him combined, to these are multi-million pound corporations that spend all day. So our ROI in comparison to theirs was disgusting. So they must have been watching from the outside feeling sick.
So do you feel, I mean, you and Julius worked very closely together, you became incredibly successful, you've told us about your upbringing. I mean, what are the qualities that you feel jointly that you and Julius brought to this incredibly successful, innovative, exciting venture?
I think me and him are a bit like yin and yang. Julius brings a lot of structure, rigidity, consistency, whereas me, I'm more in the free-flowing, creative, more lax end. And we found a perfect harmony in the middle.
Right.
So it just completely depends on your work style and where you find the most success in the easiest form.
As an individual, we've learned a lot about you already, Goob. It's a fascinating story. But I mentioned in the introduction the word addiction. Have you had addiction problems in your life?
Yeah. I've been addicted to everything, mate. Food, substances, alcohol, women, gambling. I've done it all. I'm 33. I've seen it all. Luckily for me, I came out on the other end. It wasn't to the point where I was so out of control that I couldn't pull it back. But yeah, my problem is addiction to everything.
And why, I mean, do you have a take on why you're someone who's prone to addiction? Do you think it's got something to do with your formative years?
Maybe. I think I'm just lazy. When I turn it on, I'm right, I'm going to go to the gym every day.
Yeah.
I'm not going to eat McDonald's. I'm not going to gamble. And I'll do that fantastically for a few months. But then the fall off would be I'll do all the things that I shouldn't have done, but I'll just do it to catch up with the fact that I didn't do it for the last 6 months, and then find myself in a shit situation, pardon my language, and then have to climb out of that hole. My whole life has been addiction ruins you, climb out of the hole, vindication, success, I've got what I wanted, and slip off again.
Right.
Sorry for hitting the mic. But
well, obviously, as you'll remember, when we were in Thailand, a lot of that was about fitness and losing weight.
I lost weight, I felt great.
Yeah.
Then I came here, there's no sun, I injured my back, got a hairline transplant, and now I'm overweight again.
Okay, well, look, I want to come on and ask you about what I've called a transformation, because you have become incredibly well known as, a leading, what I will call, and we can examine the concept, in the course of this discussion, pro-Palestinian campaign. The first thing I want to ask you about that actually is this, that you've described Julius Dein, my son, as your best friend.
Mm-hmm. He's family.
I'm sorry?
He's family.
Yeah. A lot of people in the world, especially today, would find it difficult to grapple with what you described as an Arab and Jew, as your words, not mine, being so close. Do you have anything to say on that?
Who would find that difficult? Point me to this person.
People do, Goob.
Let me meet them. Please point me to the person that thinks it's weird that somebody from two different backgrounds could be friends.
I think people, I can't point you to anyone at this moment in time, but my instinct is that people from all walks of life, their initial reaction might be, I'm surprised that someone who is a deep-rooted Arab background, origin, personality, and a Jew are such close friends. But you disagree. You don't feel...
What that says to me is that's almost a type of bigotry. Like, so what? Because I'm an Arab, I have to instantly think that because Julius has Israeli or Jewish background, that he's a bad guy and done something wrong. That's bigotry.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I just wanted to know what your perspective on...
Listen, I don't care what anyone says. If I love Julius, whether he was Jewish or not. And I love Jews, whether it's Julius or not. Do you get it? Like, Jews are my friends. It's not just Julius that's my friend that's Jewish. I have two other best friends and they're both Jewish.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's a reason I love challah bread. It's because my friends are Jewish. Like, you know, I love Jews. Jews are amazing. They're funny. They're great. But for somebody to go, but why are they friends? Tells me more about that person and the way they think than my relationship with whoever's Jewish.
No, I couldn't agree with you more about that. It wasn't a judgment on your friendship.
Yeah, of course.
It was a judgment on the people. Because the reality is, I don't know, maybe you can comment on this, because you're so worldly and you've met so many people in the world. I mean, are most people just sort of ignorant? Are they not deep thinking? Do they just
Maybe.
not go beyond the end of their own front doors?
I think more what it is the more polarizing your opinion, the more far it reaches. That's why you'll see people act out on news shows and the people you disagree with the most seem to get the most views. Why is that? Because it's polarizing. It's not because we agree with you that you get these views, maybe. It's maybe because of the fact we don't agree with you and we want to see what the other side say. You know, that would be my take on it.
Yeah. Okay, so a lot of the footage that we see now, I mean, I don't know, you're still doing a lot of your original stuff, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. But obviously, you're incredibly well known in the media and through your TikTok stuff and your Instagram and your footage for being, you know, a ferocious pro-Palestinian spokesman at marches and so on. Why is that? Why is that? It may sound like a silly question, but why?
It's not.
Why are you so passionate?
I don't have a choice. 2 reasons. One, within the first 2 weeks after October 7th, 14 people in my family had been killed. I always stay away from politics. I keep it to comedy or pranks. I never bring up politics. But it got to a point where I felt like the Palestinians were so underrepresented by our mainstream media, BBC, GB News, Sky News, you know who I'm talking about. We're underrepresented massively. There's a heavy racial leaning bias, in my opinion, and the opinion of a lot of people. And if you look at it, where are all of the influencers? Where are all of the news publications? Where are all of the celebrities and athletes speaking out about what's going on in Palestine? Not just since October 7th, but for the last 75 years. Where are they? They're nowhere to be found. What those underlying reasons for why they're not speaking, up to interpretation. But you ask me why all of a sudden am I so ferociously pro-Palestinian? I don't have a choice. We don't have any voices. Our voices just seem to be brown people shouting in the streets every week or weekend. That's why I have to speak.
But it's interesting, I don't know whether you're aware of this, but interesting that that's your perspective on the Palestinian situation, because I'm sure you've seen a lot of mirror image outrage at the behest of the Jewish community, and along the lines that the BBC is biased against Israel and its misrepresentation. I mean, why do you think it is that, I'll call it both sides, feel that there's such an underrepresentation? I mean, first of all, can I correct my question?
Sure.
Are you able to say whether you agree that both sides are underrepresented, or do you feel that the what I'll call the Israeli position is much better represented in the media?
I would say that there's definitely misrepresentation on both sides. You know, the feelings are valid from both sides. But if we were to weigh it up on a scale, a balance, and we put the weight of underrepresentation on each side of the scale, I think that we would see the Palestinian scale go like this. We would see that they are the underrepresented the most, because when we talk about liberation, it's somehow spun into, you don't like Jews. If we talk about apartheid, it's spun into, you don't like Jews, you are no longer allowed to speak. You support terrorists. Shh. That's what it turns into. There is definitely a feeling of misrepresentation on both sides, which is more than fair. I wouldn't argue. Yeah, I could definitely see why Jews feel like, hey, look, we're getting the rough end of the stick here. Why are we being painted with a brush as if we love violence? I believe there's a Jewish quote. It's love, truth, and what was it? Love, truth. I can't remember. I saw it a few days ago. But anyway, the point being that the Jewish people I know are some of the funniest, kindest, like lovely people. But it seems that the way that social media especially tries to portray Jews right now as if they're bloodthirsty and they want to see all the Palestinians killed. And so I can definitely understand why Jews are like, hey, hang on a second, don't try and make us look like we're the bad guys. And I see why the Palestinians are also like, hey, don't make us look like the bad guys. So
I think you've already kind of encapsulated why it's unbelievably complex, the whole thing. I mean, even in the answer you just gave, you've thrown up so many different issues. First thing I want to say is just this: that I'm not questioning in any way your genuine, overwhelming, overriding passion for the Palestinian cause. That's point one. And point two, I don't think there's any decent person on this planet who does not deeply bemoan the fact, leave aside for a moment the complications and the history that, you know, thousands and thousands of people have lost their lives in Gaza, let alone, you know, a smaller number, but nevertheless the victims of 7th of October and so on. But there's so many
equally as devastating.
Yeah, and you've made that clear in all the media stuff.
I've gone on the news and I said it. Listen, I condemn what Hamas done.
Yeah.
But in the same breath, if you want me to condemn Hamas, well, there has to be some kind of equivalence here. Like, we can't just condemn one side, and that's where the racial tensions start to prop up.
No, but
weird.
Yeah, but can I just? We know that what happened on the 7th of October. You have made it crystal clear, and all the stuff that I've seen, that, you know, your view, and I think it's many people's view, it's not everybody's view, that what happened on the 7th of October was absolutely horrific, and then we all know
it was a terrorist attack.
Yeah, we all know how history has unfolded since.
Yeah.
Okay. What I would like to ask you, just so that we have an understanding of the context of everything you say and do, and I want to come on and ask you about what you say and do, but just so we have an understanding of the context, is that do you recognise that there is a long and bitter history that has led us to be in the position we are today? Do you recognise that?
I do recognise that. I've recognised that since being a child and not really understanding why my stepfather would watch the news every day and curse the TV, and I'd be like, why does this old man study the news every day? And now I've become him, and I look at the news every single day. So I do see that there's a long overhauling, twisted, complicated history that we have.
When we talk about, for example, which I know is a burning issue of, you know, almost like unparalleled controversy, the occupation of the West Bank.
Of course.
I've no doubt, because you are, and I mean this genuinely, a highly intelligent, knowledgeable guy, that the West Bank was annexed by the Israelis, you know, in the context of the 1967 war.
Yeah.
And that the Israeli standpoint throughout has been, you know, we cannot give the West Bank back, because if we do, or we need to preserve our position on the West Bank, subject to, you know, the position in relation to Gaza, because it will place the security of the state of Israel in jeopardy if we do. I mean, do you recognise that argument? Can you see that argument?
Well, the only problem with their argument is, like, without context, yeah, I can see their argument, but with context, their argument is invalid. It's nullified, in my opinion. Because, like you said, from the 1967 borders, ever since 1967, all we've seen is, even before 1967, but we've just seen, like, time and time again, there's been a land grab, using violence as an excuse as to why the land has been grabbed. So there's, like, you have to see it like this, right? From the perspective of a Palestinian, who are heavily underrepresented. They don't speak English. We don't really get to hear what they think. From a Palestinian, you have to see it as, you came to our land as refugees, you took our land, you control our land, and now the land that we still have, yeah, we lost the 6-Day War, and you took the land, and then you left Gush Katif, you left Gaza, gave us the land back. You still control our police, you control our water, our electricity, phone signals, there's an illegal blockade on Gaza. For the Palestinians, it's like, for you to ask that question and say, do you recognise the security threat of Israel? Yeah, we do. But it seems like the Israelis don't recognise their own security threats, because their neighbours are screaming, help us. But we choose to ignore what the neighbours are saying. So forever, Israel's security is going to be at threat if we don't want to even look at the main issue at hand, which is the liberation of Palestinian people and having a sovereign state, being able to choose their own political standings, you know. That would be the context I would apply to that question.
But the problem is that the whole issue of a sovereign Palestinian state, the two-state solution, I mean, we go back, there's a long history on that as well, isn't there?
Yes.
You know, there have been the Oslo Accord, there was the assassination of Prime Minister Rabin in 2005, you know, I mean, let's just come on and just look at the reality of the situation. Okay,
Sure.
I know that you have responded very often to questions about Hamas on the basis that, you know, don't ask me, I'm not Hamas, I'm not a terrorist.
Sure.
Right? Yeah, and you've done that quite frequently, and you're obviously, I understand why you've done that, and you're very sensitive. But I just want to ask you,
Sure.
Goob, there's no point you and me sort of dwelling too much on the detail of the history, because neither of us are Middle Eastern experts in that respect.
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah.
But I just want to ask you, do you recognise that Hamas rejects the right of the State of Israel to exist? That is their principal, declaration.
Maybe in their original charter, but there was a revised one in 2018, I believe. But that being said, you want to speak about Hamas, let's speak about Hamas, because it's very important to speak about them. Hamas are a terrorist organisation prescribed by the UK government, right?
Yeah.
They're also a political movement. Would you agree?
They have a political wing.
But they're a political movement, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it depends what you mean by that.
They are a political movement. If you're any country that's ever been subjugated to oppression or apartheid or whatever it is, resistance has been formed, and those groups, I'll be given names, those resistance groups come from a political movement. It's indisputable. If they're not, then let's talk about the history of Hamas, shall we? Hamas turned up, 30 years after the occupation, right? It wasn't long ago that Netanyahu said in a meeting in the Knesset, I believe 2017 or 2019, he said, if you oppose the creation of a Palestinian state, we have to fund Hamas, and this is what we're doing. So we'll fund Hamas, and then if we do this, then the Palestinian state will no longer be. So what that tells me is, Hamas has been used as a pawn. Did you know also Netanyahu would go to Doha and Qatar and say, give Hamas money? It's literally, you can Google it right now, anyone at home, go find out if Netanyahu ever propped up Hamas. So this is not an attack on you, I just think it's audacious, and you have to have a brass neck to put it all on Hamas, but then ignore how Israel facilitated Hamas receiving billions and billions of pounds.
I understand what you're saying about that. If it's correct, and I'm going to proceed on the basis...
part?
Well, if it's correct, and I'm going to proceed on the basis that it is, that somehow Israel have become embroiled in the whole question of funding Hamas. Can we just identify... I want to ask you about this,
Sure.
Good, because you're dealing with all these issues very systematically,
Sure.
right? But according to Hamas covenant, I just want to read and just then briefly discuss some of the declarations that have been made. Hamas is an extremist fundamental Islamic organization operating in the territories under Israeli control. Its goal is that of destroying the state of Israel through jihad, Islamic holy war. A further aspect of the covenant is Israel will exist and will continue to exist until Islam will obliterate it, just as it has obliterated others before. And further, the day the enemies usurp part of Muslim land, jihad becomes the individual duty of every Muslim. In the face of the Jews' usurpation, it's compulsory that the banner of Jews be raised. And finally, the day of another Hamas declaration is, quote, the day of judgment will not come about until Muslims fight Jews and kill them. Then the Jews will hide behind rocks and trees, and the rocks and trees will cry out. Now, I just want to... Pardon?
I've heard this, yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to ask you this question, right? In that knowledge, is it not comprehensible that the Israeli government and many, many thousands of people, if not millions of people in Israel, see no option but to do all in their power to resist what Hamas says it's sworn to do?
Let's just start off. Some of the stuff in there is so horrific and terrifying that it's extremism, it's fundamentalism. But let's just say, let's go back in time, shall we, to Judea and Samaria before it was called Palestine. The reason, for those of you that don't know at home, the name Palestine comes from Philistines, you know? So that name was given to that area by the Romans. They took it from the Jews. We know this, we know the history. I wonder what the Jews would have said about the Romans. You're quoting what Hamas is saying about the Israelis. What do you think the Jews would have said about the Romans for them kicking them out of their land and changing the name? They would have probably had the same kind of rhetoric that you're bringing up now.
Well, it's not rhetoric. It's a declaration to wipe out the state. It's not rhetoric.
True.
It's threats to kill and murder and maim.
Agreed.
It's actually a realisation of what they did on the 7th of October.
It's disgusting.
It's not disgusting, Goob. It's not disgusting. It's frightening. It is chillingly frightening.
Okay, but in that same breath, sir, you have to admit that if you want to bring up that, why don't we talk about what Israeli government officials, the highest up, are saying right now? It sounds genocidal. So it's not, you can't say but, because in the same breath it's the same argument. They're saying it right now. These people are in power right now making genocidal statements to the point where they're having to apologise and go, actually, he didn't mean that. Oh, he's not really a part of the government. He said nuke. Do you know what I mean? So there's going to be extremism on both sides. I said it's disgusting. You said it's not disgusting, it's frightening. It's whatever word you can find. Exactly.
Yeah.
It encompasses the most terrifying thing possible. Now, that being said, how many people do you think wrote that Hamas?
I have no idea how many people wrote it.
Let's not even be conservative. Let's say it was 100 people that wrote it. Let's say it's 100,000 people. Should the people that live in Palestine, the other remaining few million, 2 million in Gaza, 3 million in West Bank, should they have to suffer the forfeit? Should they lose their land? Should they be held accountable to the point where we destroy their homes, we raise 22 cemeteries out of 45 in Gaza, we destroy almost every hospital, there's only 12 partially functioning hospitals left in Gaza. Is that what the people deserve?
Okay,
no.
Okay.
So you're talking about an extremist group, and so that would be like saying, you know what, the IRA, they're bombing our police. Let's wipe out the whole of Ireland. Let's kill them all. Let's take all their land, and then we'll figure it out after. That's not how it works.
Okay, well, let me just say, fine. Okay, and again, you've given a very comprehensive response. I just want to make it clear to you, okay, I don't think there's any benefit in us discussing the detail. You've talked about Palestinians being kicked out of their land. I don't necessarily agree. I've studied Middle Eastern politics at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. I don't necessarily agree that it's not as simple as Palestinians being kicked out of the land. The Balfour Declaration, allocated territory. Within a few hours, the whole of the Arab nations came together and sought to materialise a declaration of driving every Jew into the... There's a long history here. There's a long history here.
Sorry to interrupt. I don't mean to. I just wanted to interject on the point of you saying you don't agree with what I'm saying on the Palestinians being kicked out of their land.
Originally, I'm going right back.
Let's go right back. Let's go back to 1931 at a Zionist convention. A New Yorker, a Jew, he said, if I could... Arab Palestine is a threat to Great Britain and a menace to the world. A Jewish Palestine is an asset to Great Britain and a blessing to the world. Do you know that quote? Have you heard that?
I've heard of that quote, yeah.
What does that mean? That's ethnic cleansing.
Well,
that means there are Arabs in Palestine, but they're bad guys. This is 1931, before Israel was even created. Let's make it a Jewish Palestine. So, there alone, just that rhetoric there that led to the conception of Israel, I don't think it's fair for you to say that you studied this topic, but you don't agree with the fact that the Palestinians have been kicked off their land.
Look, let's move on, because I'll tell you why.
Sure.
I'll tell you why. There are so many twists and turns in this story, right? Agreed. And different interpretations. I went back to 1948, you go back to 1931.
We could even go back
I mentioned 1967, you could talk about, many other things. Agreed. I think what I would just like to do as we move forward, right, is to focus on where we are today, right?
Sure.
We had, look, Goob, sorry, just let me get, bear with me 1 second.
No problem.
What we had, and I know that you're aware of it, but I want to ask you about your perspective on it, right?
Sure.
What we know is that on the 7th of October, it's documented, and I'm going to, just let me say it, and then I'm going to ask you about it, right? That the attack on the Supernova Music Festival led to 364 civilians being murdered. 253 hostages were taken, including 78 women and children. It's reported that 40 babies were killed and or decapitated, and that there was a significant quota of sexual violence. We also know, what the huge death toll that has followed in Gaza, which proportionately, as a matter of fact, I'm not looking at the justification, grossly outweighs, right? Now, the position is this, that subsequently, Hamas officials have come out and said that Operation Alaska, which was the 7th of October attack on Israel, is going to be repeated time and time again. Mm-hmm. That is what they have said. Yeah. Quote, the Al-Aqsa flood is just the first time. And there will be a second, a third, a fourth, because we have determination and resolve. We are a nation of martyrs, proud to sacrifice martyrs. Israel has no place on our land. Now, my question of you is this. Firstly, do you accept that the events that are reported as having happened on the 7th of October did happen? Because a lot of pro-Palestinian sympathizers have come out and said they don't believe that those attacks ever happened.
May I?
Do you believe that those attacks happened in the form that they've been reported?
Well, first of all, the 40 beheaded babies was debunked. Joe Biden said it online.
I know, but Joe Biden wasn't there, Goop.
No, but this is the most important man in the world who just out loud, without any proof, said he saw 40 beheaded babies and they had to retract the statement first. You brought up rape and sexual violence. There hasn't been one rape kit provided, not one independent investigation done. So that's not me saying it's a lie. I'm just saying every other instance would have to have an independent investigation. Otherwise, the other side, being the Palestinian side, can dispute it.
So you don't accept these things?
You haven't let me finish my answer. Can dispute it, whether it's true or not. Now, you asked me, do I accept that these things happened? You just said that Joe Biden wasn't there. I wasn't there either. Now, what I do know for a fact that happened was civilians, innocent civilians, were killed, which is a war crime. And whoever perpetrated those war crimes should be punished to the full extent of the law. Okay? So I'm not in any way, shape or form defending what happened on October 7th.
I haven't suggested you are.
I know.
I haven't suggested you are.
I know, of course not. Listen, I love you, mate. I would never think you're trying to...
No, but I don't believe that you are defending. I want to make that clear.
Great, fantastic. Now, that being said, you're saying that they're going to repeat it. They're openly saying they're going to repeat it. Why? We're talking about what they did on October 7th, but we're not talking about why. What did these fanatics, what did these Muslim Islamist extremists think they would get out of killing civilians and committing...
They're psychopaths, aren't they?
Maybe.
They're psychopaths. So are you trying to apply rational judgment to the thinking of psychopaths?
Well, you don't know them. You've never met them, shook their hands, or even had a conversation with these people that you're calling psychopaths. If you want to completely not have a chance of discourse, enjoy war. That's what they're saying. Now, again, let me get back to what I was saying. These fanatics that killed people on October 7th, why? What do these lunatics want? What do you want, murderous lunatic psychopath? That's the question that everybody seems to be ignoring. What do they want? They want to kill all Jews, they said in their charter, right? Which they had to amend, and rightly so. That's fucking disgusting. What do they want? They want to eradicate Israel. Again, that's another thing that you said, right?
Well, it's what they've said. It's not what I've said.
Now, what are the symptoms of all of the things that they're asking for? There's a big circle here. Everything that leads in that circle, what is the symptom?
Okay, can we deal with that?
Well, do you know what the answer is to my question? What is the symptom of all of the things that we're talking about?
You want to answer your own question. You answer your own question.
Yes, so occupation.
Okay.
They are talking about the fact that 75 years ago, their country was stolen from them. They all carry a key for their old houses that they used to live in, these people. They don't forget. This is in their DNA now. Now, what's happened is, these people that want their country back have gone crazy. And the most right-wing and extreme of them that are willing to do the most disgusting, depraved things to try and get attention to their cause, it's a symptom.
Okay, can we just analyse then? Because It seems, if I may say so,
Please.
right, I describe them as psychopaths, and I do actually genuinely believe that they are. And having spent a lot of my career defending in homicide cases, I've never seen violence and homicide and psychopathic behaviour like this before. But do I understand you to be saying that you accept that there is a significant psychopathic element, but there's a just cause for it? That you said they've been driven mad.
I said maybe they're these crazy fanatics that have been begging the world.
Is that your view? Are they crazy fanatics?
Maybe.
Crazy fanatics?
Maybe. I'm using the word maybe on purpose. I don't know who they are. I don't even know their names.
No, I
never
know
met
you.
them.
I know you don't.
How can I be the one to pass judgment? One thing I do know for sure is that the history proves that these people that are a political movement, who are also a terrorist organization, have all got the same idea. And this same idea is liberation or death, homeland or death, justice or death. Whether or not they're crazy or not, there is a large population of the world now, as well as the Palestinians, that look at this and go, we kind of get it. They might be psychopaths, but we kind of get how these psychopaths are thinking. Imagine being treated so fucking badly, pardon my language, imagine being treated so badly that Hamas seems to be the next best option for these people. What does that say of how Israelis are treating Palestinians?
Yeah, but just focusing on the issue of Hamas,
Sure.
right, and the attack on the 7th of October and the declaration subsequently, right, are you honestly saying that these people, I know you don't know them and I don't know them either, but I just want to see, you know, because you're putting...
Define these people.
Did they wake up, let's say, you know, let's just imagine the 6th of October, we know this was planned, and they said to themselves, right, we are so outraged by the occupation that we're going to go in and we're going to slaughter, or we're going to cut their heads off, we're going to stab them, we're going to take them hostages, we're going to, you know, cause absolute mayhem. That's what we're going to do. We think that that is the solution to the occupation of the West Bank. Is that their line of reasoning? And if it is, do you respect that?
If it was me and I lived in Gaza, I would have to have an honest think to myself. I live in England. I've got the privilege of having electricity, food, sit in this plush room doing a podcast with you, to come and defend people that haven't got the choice to defend themselves. So I have to ask myself the question, if I was in England right now and Italy came and they said, we lived here 1,000 years ago, we're taking Bath back. And I lived in Bath. And they took my home, they killed family or friends. What would go through my mind and who would I turn into after these things happening to me? So now it's not me excusing what happened on October 7th, but the fact that you only bring up October 7th is a slap in the face of all Palestinians that have been begging for the last 75 years for some kind of help from the wider community in the world. Now let's say, for instance, so I agree with you, it's all fucked up, it's weird, they shouldn't have done it, but you have to admit that for a country that was about to normalise relations with all the Arab states and the chance of getting a Palestinian state gone, they just committed a terror attack, and now countries like Spain are looking to recognise Palestine as a sovereign state. Not saying what they did was a good thing. It's a terrible thing what they did. But look at what's happened as a result. For the first time ever, we've seen America take a different stance politically in the United Nations against Israel. This has never, ever happened before. For the first time ever, we've seen America say, oh, we unconditionally support Israel militarily, but if they don't change some of their policies, we may have to change ours. We're seeing direct change.
So what are you saying? You're saying that the maiming and killing of Jews on the 7th of October was a productive exercise. It sounds like you're saying it was a productive... No, it's not semantics.
It is.
You're saying America... No, forgive me. Let me. You're saying that one consequence of what happened on the 7th of October is that America are waking up to give more support to the Palestinian cause.
It may upset
But how
you.
are the hostages who are still being detained in filthy tunnels?
What about the Palestinian ones?
No, I know, but Goubtube, I'm asking about the hostages. Why won't they release the hostages?
Think about it.
Do you believe? I know
I know exactly why they didn't release the hostages yet. Because there's no permanent ceasefire. They know what's going to happen. If their only bargaining chips are these hostages, which we have already agreed is wrong, but if their bargaining chips are hostages, and you've already destroyed the whole of Gaza, why would they give back their only lifeline? Why would you?
Okay, but
if you were them, would you? Here you go, take your hostages back, and now you can kill us without even worrying.
You can't ask me whether I was them, because I wouldn't go and kill grandmothers and babies.
Neither would I.
No, I know you wouldn't. I know you wouldn't.
But you've asked me for my opinion.
But can I just, before we move on to one or two other things as we approach, can I just ask you this then, right? I want you to, if I may, to put yourself, I know you won't like this question, it'd be distasteful for you, right? But I want to put you now, today, in the Israeli Cabinet Office, okay? I want to put you in the Israeli Cabinet Office in the knowledge that Hamas are openly saying that they intend to repeat the Al-Aqsa flood over and over again, right? What if you were the Prime Minister of Israel today, right? In the face of that undertaking, what would you do?
This is what I would honestly do if I loved my country and I was in the Knesset. Is it Knesset or Knesset?
Knesset.
If I was in the Knesset, this is what I'd honestly say. we're going to hold to account everybody that's killed any innocent civilians, first of all, whether it's militarily or politically. This is what we're going to do. We're going to make sure that the people that committed these crimes are going to be brought to justice in the most harshest way, whatever, capital punishment, do what you want, it doesn't matter. We're going to punish them for what they did to us. That being said, we have jeopardized our own people by allowing Hamas to fester. Imagine if you were to allow the Palestinians to have a better idea or a better political movement than Hamas. They haven't had an election since 2016.
That's because Hamas won't allow an election. I mean, they're torturing their own people, aren't they?
I mean, with all due respect, if you were to ask the people on the ground that actually live in Palestine, if Hamas are torturing them.
They're too scared to answer, Goob. They're too scared to answer.
Okay, but I've spoken to Palestinians. I've spoken to my own family that are in Palestine, and that's not the answer I've received.
In Gaza or on the West Bank?
In Gaza.
Yeah.
And their response, listen, by the way, not the whole of Gaza is pro-Hamas. I think it's like in the 50-50 range.
I know that.
Yeah. So it's not, if it's in the 50-50 range, that means it could be swayed.
But Goob,
you need to offer, if I was in the Knesset, we need to offer the Palestinian people, our neighbours, the people we love, the people that offered us refuge after Europeans kicked us out. Because it was the Europeans that enacted the Holocaust. It wasn't the Palestinians that are now paying the price for the Holocaust. So,
no, I absolutely agree with you.
We should offer the Palestinians something that is so much better, far removed from Hamas, that tomorrow, if we give it to them, they will throw Hamas in the bin.
But Goob, sorry, it was my fault. On the question of you being in the Israeli Cabinet Office, the issue that I really wanted to spotlight was not so much the question of punishing those who have killed, but how, obviously the Israeli government, it's a very, very controversial issue, have come under, worldwide criticism for what they've done and the proportionality and everything else, right? But if you were told as the Prime Minister of Israel that Hamas are sworn to annihilate the state of Israel, and thereby if land, if there's a division of land, if borders are open and so on, the risk to Israel is, infinitely widened. Would you not feel?
Do you know what I would do?
The only way to achieve security was to wipe out the perpetrators.
The first thing I would
get them off the face of the earth. Is that not the only solution?
No,
that's a question, not a statement.
It's not.
That's a question.
Of course, it's not the only solution. The first thing I would do is I'd throw Netanyahu in jail. This man, before October 7th, held up a piece of paper to, I believe, the United Nations Council Committee, held up a piece of paper that said Israel and completely wiped out Palestine on the map. Do you remember this?
But throwing in Netanyahu in jail is not going to preserve
You
the
asked me-
security
you asked me
of
what I would
Jewish
do.
people, isn't
You
it?
asked me what I would do in the Knesset.
Yeah.
That's what I'd do.
I know, but
this man has made sure that racial tensions are so high that he brazenly lifted a piece of paper that completely that's ethnic cleansing, by the way, wiped Palestine off the map and called it Israel. Now, are you telling me that this man really cares about the safety and security of his country?
But you're not dealing with the point because...
How am I not?
You're not dealing with the point because in answer to the question...
He is the problem.
No, he's not the... Well, that's your view, right?
The man financing Hamas and making sure that they stay in power so that he can stay in power and has implemented the most right-wing government that Israel has ever seen is not the problem.
No, you're saying he's the problem, but
he is the problem.
Hang on, Goob. It could be suggested that the real problem, so far as the Israelis are concerned, is the sworn declaration of Hamas to kill every Jew on the planet.
And what about the sworn declaration?
So you're saying that the solution to Hamas wanting to wipe out Jews is to put Netanyahu in prison?
No.
I can't really see the connection between those two.
That wouldn't even cut off the head of the snake. I'm just saying, if we want to hold Hamas accountable, I think both sides should be held accountable. Why is it only one side whose crimes are... It's like, well, our violence is holier than thou. No, I refute that. Now, that being said, you said to me, if I was in Knesset, what would I do?
Yeah.
What I would do is hold the people accountable that are the reason that 75 years of oppression have led ultimately to there being a religious faction on your doorstep that are trying to annihilate you. Why?
Okay.
Let's ask the question, guys. We're not stupid. We all know that wars happen for a reason. Why is this war happening right now? Is it because the Palestinians have so much power over Israel? No. You're US backed. You've got the best military in the world. What are we talking about here? You're killing civilians in their tens of thousands. Let's talk about it. The issue here is you have a very right-wing government that, honestly, let's be real. Have you seen the racism running rampant? You say, oh, we have Arab Israelis, they can serve in the Knesset. Have you seen how they're spoken about in the Knesset?
Yeah, but
it's horrific.
Do you not
racism runs rife.
But
sorry, go on.
Well, might that not have something to do with the fact that Israel is being rocketed day in, day out, night in, night out?
Agreed. So
the 7th of October attacks, the slaughter of their people, the holding of the hostage. I mean, the Israeli Knesset have to protect the security of Jewish people, because no one in the world will. No one else in the world will.
Would you be offended if I said that October 7th is Palestine 24/7? Would you be offended?
No, I'm not offended by anything.
Great.
I'm not offended by anything. Don't worry about me being offended anyway. I mean,
but
that's the least of the world's problems.
Do you know what happened on
moment.
October 6th, October 5th? Did you hear about the protesters that were killed on the month before, on the 17th? Sorry, I can't remember the date. Why do we not talk about these injustices?
Well, we do.
Why is no, we don't. No, we don't. That's the issue.
Okay.
October 7th is a date we all remember. Do you know any dates of people dying in the year before?
They are documented.
In 2020, yeah, they're documented, but we don't know the date. The only reason October 7th is such a memorable date is because it never happens to you guys. And when it does happen on a large scale...
That's not true.
It is true. Let's bring up the numbers. Everyone at home, bring up the numbers right now.
The reason why October the 7th...
Find out how many civilians have died on the... Sorry for interrupting. On the Israeli side and the Palestinian side in the last decade.
Yeah.
And then you look at the numbers, tell me if I'm a liar.
Yeah.
I'm telling you the truth.
But Goub, I want to move on and ask you about some other things before we finish. But
Please.
I'm afraid the reason why 7th of October shocked the world is not because it never happens in Israel. It's because it was barbarism and psychopathic behavior on a scale that the world has rarely ever seen in history. That's why it shocked the world so much.
I disagree.
Should
we not talk about what Germany done in Namibia? Should we not talk about what's happening right now in Sudan, what's happening in Rwanda, what's happening in Somalia? Like, these things happen all the time.
Okay.
If I go on Twitter right now with you, I'll literally just type it in from years before October 7th, the atrocities that you're labelling, saying that we've never seen it before. We have. You haven't seen it before.
Okay, well, look, we could go on talking about these aspects forever, couldn't we? So I want to, maybe for the last phase of the time we've got, I want to switch gear.
Something productive.
I want to switch gear and link more in what I think the concluding phase, your own participation. I want to ask you about pro-Palestinian marches, okay? Because the fact is that every Saturday in London there are massive pro-Palestinian marches in London, right? And there's been a highly controversial issue which you are very sort of complicit in debating over whether those marches can be described as, or partly described as, hate marches, right?
Sure.
Okay. Are they hate marches?
If we saw a 100,000 to 500,000 people hate march every week for the last 6 months, do you not think this country would still be on fire? Do you not think every window, every shop, you'd be closed if it was a true hate march? You don't know the definition of hate march.
What is a hate march, do you believe?
Exactly. It's a tool Suella Braverman, the disgraced Home Secretary, fired from the same position 2 times in a row, uses to stoke racial tensions. Let's be real.
Yeah, but Goub, can we just... look, first of all, I'm not... as a citizen of this country, I was born and bred here. Obviously, if people want to protest, let them protest,
Agreed.
Right? Okay. Last week, for example, swastikas were being held up at pro-Palestinian marches, and you were marching alongside those people. Do you feel good about that?
I have a question.
Do you feel good about that?
I have a question. This swastika that was held up, was it used as a sign of saying we are Nazis, or was it used as a way of making a comparison? What's the context of them using that swastika? You agree with freedom of speech, right? So context is very, very key here. But how was the swastika used?
How do you... We don't know how the swastika
was. Was it a swastika?
Well,
was it the original, like the Thai symbol, or what was the information on this swastika?
So hang on. You're seeking... Firstly, do you know that it was being used to draw a parallel?
I asked the question. What was it used for?
Okay, but so you're leaping to the defence of whoever was waving this swastika.
I asked the context. I think that's fair. How can you ask me to categorise something when I don't actually have any of the information on it? You said there was a swastika used, right?
Right.
How did they use it?
Okay, but did you
say,
ask? Did
we
you
are
see
Nazi
it?
killed? No, I didn't.
Did you see it?
That's
Had you seen it? Would you have gone up to the person and said, are you using this as justification? Or is this just blatant anti-Semitism?
Do you know what? I probably would have completely ignored them and gone, ugh. I see racism and bigotry to me as like, ugh. Like, let someone call my Jewish or black or whatever ethnicity friend a racial slur in front of me. Try it. and we'll see who the real racist is. I don't agree with any racism. I don't agree with... Listen, let me just tell you something about anti-Semitism at the march. If there was such rife anti-Semitism at the march, why are there thousands of Jews that march with us every week? Why is there a Jewish bloc that helps us organise these protests? Why are there, was it Jewish Voices for Peace? Why are these... Look, here's a question for you. Where are all the Arab Israeli citizens saying, hey, it's not an apartheid, marching with Israel? Where are they? Where are all the Jews that are marching only with Israel? They're not. They're marching with us too. Why is there no equivalence? Why are the Arabs and the Muslims not marching for Israel, but there are thousands and thousands of Jews marching with us? What does that mean?
Well, I can't, look, first of all, I can't confirm or deny there are thousands.
Come to the march, bro. It's one, it'll be the safest you've ever been.
I'm scared to come to those marches.
What?
I find them intimidating.
Bro,
I find them intimidating.
Wear your Star of David. Wait, let me finish, please, because these are my marches. I'm a part of these. Wear your Star of David with pride, right, and walk through the marches. Tell me that you won't be heralded as a hero and a champion by the peoples of the march. Now, that being said, if you come with an Israeli flag and you go, terrorist, scum, you'll get the reaction you're looking for.
Hang on, let me take you up on that, because you say that if you come with an Israeli flag, shouting terrorist.
Sure.
What about the thousands and thousands of people marching through London, accusing the Israeli government of genocide and talking about and holding up pro-Hamas posters and talking about the Holocaust never having happened? Why is that acceptable? But if you hold up an Israeli flag,
whoever said that the Holocaust never...
Listen, it said a lot.
If they said that,
it said a lot.
Let me tell you something right now. If they said that and I saw that sign, the Holocaust never... I'd rip the fucking sign out of their hands. I'd slap them around the face with it. Like, get out of here, because you're dragging us back 100 years. Jews are our friends. And do you know who's going to fix the problem in Palestine? Ding, ding, ding. The Jews. It's the Jews that are right now, 100,000 of them marching in Tel Aviv. They are heroes to me. You know that? The Jews and Israelis that are fighting for Palestinians are my heroes. They are the fucking bravest. They're braver than any of the people marching at our protests. Do you know why? Our police give you a little flick on the wrist. Oh, go on then. Do you know what they're doing to you in France and Germany right now? If you even wear a keffiyeh, you get banged up and arrested. So there is no way that anti-Semitism is just rife in our marches. If it were, there would be swastikas all over London, don't you think?
Good, but I haven't expressly suggested that anti-Semitism is rife. That's not a suggestion I made. But what I can say, because it's documented. First of all, we all know there's been a significant rise in Islamophobia. The position in relation to Islamophobia is that there were 2010 Islamophobic incidents between the 7th of October and the 7th of February, right? So I'm not deprecating that there's been a rise in...
Suella Braverman, GB News, Sky News, BBC News, rising racial tensions, trying to paint Muslims as if they're all terrorist sympathisers and vilify us.
What Suella Braverman was seeking to do, and this is really a question of you, is she was trying to avoid what has now happened, which is that there have been a record 4,103 anti-Jewish hate incidents in the United Kingdom since 2023. That is documented, right? Were you not aware of that?
Well, I definitely know that there's a rise in racism. There's definitely a rise in racism on all aspects of the spectrum.
No.
Why are you shaking your head as if I'm wrong?
No, you're right, but that's not the topic we're on. You have switched the focus from a massive increase in anti-Semitism to a general concern about rise in racism. That's not what we're discussing. I want to ask you a question.
But you also brought up Islamophobia, so that's not true.
Yeah, Islamophobia concerns me greatly, but on the question of anti-Semitism, I just want to ask you a question, right?
Sure.
Do you believe that there is any connection between a record rise of 4,103 anti-Jewish hate incidents in the UK since 2023 and what goes on Saturday afternoons in London?
No, of course not.
No connection at all. It's pure coincidence.
There may be instances where it does apply, but let's be real. This has nothing to do with the marches. There are marches in every country in the world, so that point is invalid. Really, the truth of the matter is, the reason why Islamophobia has risen is from mainstream media. Okay, let's be honest. We've conflated immigration and not liking Muslim gangs with the Palestinian cause. That's the conflation there, so that's why Islamophobia's gone up. Why has anti-Semitism gone up?
Why has it gone up?
I'll tell you why. It's the actions of a rogue government that are able to kill with impunity.
So your view is, and this is a question again,
why are there so many Jews at our
spitting
marches?
in the face of a rabbi in Stoke Newington?
Disgusting.
I'm sure,
Hate
knowing you, I
knock the guy
genuinely
out.
accept that you believe that it's disgusting.
I'd knock him out.
No, but are you saying that the reason why 4,000 incidents have taken place is because of the
What's happened?
actions of the rogue government.
Clearly, where else is the common denominator?
Just pure endemic anti-Semitism.
So where was the anti-Semitism before? Where was the rise? Before October 7th, before we saw all the bombing of the civilians, where was the rise of
It's just
anti-Semitism?
hidden.
Oh, come on! That's not a fair thing to say. It's hidden. Come on.
The expression "from the river to the sea." Can you
Yes.
see why it's offensive
No.
to Jewish people?
No, why would it be?
can't-
Or do you know where that
Because
saying
it's
comes from?
synonymous with the destruction of the
Do
state
you know-
of Israel.
That's so funny.
Is it not?
That's
Is
so-
it not?
No, it's not. Do you know why that's funny that you say that? Do you know where the original instance of from?
Yes, I do know.
Where did it come
Yes,
from?
I
Please
do know.
enlighten everyone at home.
I do know.
Where did it come from? Enlighten them.
I do know that there is a
please-
suggestion that it's come.
Please tell everybody at home where the saying.
Will you
from-
tell us?
No,
Will
no,
you
come on,
tell
you're the
us?
expert.
It has a connection.
You say it
I'm
way
not an
more
expert.
eloquently than me.
I haven't
All
said.
right, fantastic.
I
Let me
haven't
take
said.
the floor.
No, I haven't said
The
that it's an
saying
expert.
from the river to the sea that you just brought up to me right now.
Let
came-
Palestine be free. Let Palestine
thank you.
be free.
Those are great
Yeah,
words.
yeah.
Fantastic.
From the river sea, let Palestine
be free. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
The original instance that the saying from the river to the sea came up.
Yeah.
Came from a Likud party charter in 1977.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Okay,
Yeah.
but the people at
I'm
home
aware of
aren't,
that.
so
Yeah.
allow me to
Okay.
explain. Then, on top of that, what did they say at the end of the sentence? Our version is Palestine will be free. What is the Israeli version? Israeli sovereignty from the river to the sea. Now, let me play a game of duality here. Why is it that Israeli sovereignty from the River Jordan to the Palestinian Sea is not genocidal, but from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, i.e. liberation, is now genocidal? Do you see how silly that sounds?
No, I don't think it sounds silly. I think we have to focus on what's happening now.
But it's a double
right?
standard. You admit it's a double standard,
Well,
right?
it may be a double standard.
So how can you bring it up?
Well, I can bring it up because my question of you is, right, do you see how, can you not see?
Do you think I'm saying kill all the Jews, free Palestine?
I'm not saying you, look,
Do you think that's what people sing?
No, my question really is the repeated cry of from the river to sea, let Palestine be free, do you not accept that might well contribute to Jewish old people in wheelchairs being spat at in Stoke Newington on a Sunday morning?
100%. I think that's such a silly conflation. How can asking for the liberation of one's country for the last 75 years also mean we hate Jews?
Okay.
If that was the case, why is the song not from the river to the sea, kill every Jew we see? Or do you know what I mean?
Well, I've heard some declarations not dissimilar from that
whoever
myself.
fucking said that deserves a punch on the nose.
Can I just, we haven't got very
Sorry
long
for my
left.
language, by the
No,
way.
we haven't got very left. I want to ask you about two further things, actually. First of all, Goob, if I could just ask you, I want to ask you whether this is your genuine view. You know Jews, right?
Yeah.
And Jews know you. And you've told us how you feel about your friends and so on and so forth, right? Do you the concept of genocide involves the deliberate and intentional destruction in whole or in part of a national, ethnic, racial, religious group? The deliberate, intentional destruction in whole or in part of a national, ethnic, racial, religious group. Can we just deal with this briefly? Because I want to conclude with one other matter. Knowing Jews as you do and accepting that Israelis are Jews, and acknowledging the terrible tragedy of the death of so many thousands of innocent people, which I genuinely adhere to, do you honestly believe that the Israeli government are deliberately and intentionally seeking to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnic, racial or religious group being the Palestinians? Is that your view?
I think it's absolutely blindingly obvious that that's the view, and it's true.
Is it your view?
It's my view, yeah, it's a genocide. Actually, it's worse than a genocide. I mean, let's talk about the definition of genocide. What is it? The intentional killing in whole or in part
what we've
of an
just
ethnic
discussed.
group or a racial... Okay, cool. Is that not what everybody in the Knesset has been shouting? Let's nuke them. Let's wipe Gaza off the map. Let's return back to Gush Katif. These are all indicators. No, actually, this is how you prove genocide in a court of law. You should know this. You're a barrister. The way to do it is to prove the intent from the people above down to the people that enact the war, right? That's how you prove genocide. We already have so many instances. Right now, everyone at home, go type in genocidal intent Israeli Knesset members. Just do it and see what happens. You will see proof that the people at the top are saying, we want to wipe these people out.
One or two reckless
One or
statements.
two.
Yes. Yeah.
Bro, it's been 75
Yeah.
years of land grabs. Let's be real.
No, but-
Let's not whitewash it. Let's not wash history and pretend it's not as bad as it seems. It's way worse. It's more than a genocide. I have a word for you, and it might even be deemed offensive. It's a Palestinian Holocaust. That might hurt a lot of Jews' feelings, saying that. How dare he take the word Holocaust? But think about, what is the definition of Holocaust?
As I've... Sorry,
what is
go
it?
on.
The definition of Holocaust in the dictionary, everybody at home, go check it out yourself. It is the mass killing of people, usually, or especially using fire or nuclear weapons.
Are you aware?
Under that definition, it's a Palestinian Holocaust.
Are you aware that the Hebrew meaning of Hamas is violence?
I didn't know that, no.
Right. So what's happening here, there's two interpretations. One is the one you seem to be advocating, which is the deliberate destruction of the whole of the Palestinian people. The other is the protection of Jews and Israelis against violence. That's the interpretation. But fine, you've dealt with that and you've dealt with it very clearly. I want to just conclude, if I may, because in the time we've got, I just want to come back to the question of marches. I just want to come back to the question of marches, Goub, and I just want to ask you about some of the things that have happened on your, in the course of Palestinian marches. Let me say this, right? I have never questioned, knowing you as well as I do, and watching, the footage, your genuine, overwhelming preoccupation with and deep-rooted passion and motivation to
these are my people,
publicise the cause of the Palestinians, right? But if we just look at one or two clips of what's been going on in these marches, I just want to ask you about your reasoning, right? What we've got here, and I'm going to show it to you, is. So I want to ask you about this boy. I don't know, how old do you think he is, Goub? It's hard to say.
I know what you're going to ask me. I said to him in this video, what was it?
Well, let's have a look. Let's have a look. He's been given a sign by somebody.
Sure.
I don't know whether it was
his
you,
mum,
saying this is not a hate march, right? Mm-hmm. Do you honestly believe this boy would know what a hate march is?
Play the video.
Yeah, let's play the video. Let's play the video.
This is a hate march? No, it's not, is it? Yeah. Can you say, Suella Braverman, shame on you?
Pausing there.
Bubbles.
Okay, pausing there, right?
Sweetheart. Go on.
This
I know what you're arguing.
well, he's being indoctrinated, isn't he?
Okay, cool.
It's not a question of
Ask your questions.
Are you not nurturing a generation of hate against Israel, if not against Jews?
Sure.
That's my question.
So let me hear you. So basically what you're saying is I'm indoctrinating.
No, I'm asking you.
Okay, what you're asking me.
I'm not making any accusation.
Sure.
I'm asking you to explain.
Sure.
That's all I'm doing.
Allow me, please.
Yeah.
What you're asking me is, am I not indoctrinating children? First of all, I'm not that child's parent. They came to the protest on their own. I just asked them questions. Second of all, and I did say, can you say, Suella Braverman, shame on you?
Yeah.
Do you know why I brought up Suella Braverman? What's the sign that he's holding? This is not a hate march. What did Suella Braverman call the marches? Hate marches. Now, that being said, when you try to make out that this is a terrorist march and call it a hate march, and the media is trying to say, because GB News turn up and they try their hardest to get any kind of content that looks like it's violent. What did I do? Oh, you want to call it a hate march? Sure. Let's ask the haters.
A 3-year-old? A 3-year-old or a 4-year-old? Why are you doing that?
So why are you
asking a 4-year-old?
Sure, let me answer the question.
Why are you telling a 4-year-old?
Let me answer the question.
Why are you telling a 4-year-old?
May I answer the question?
Of course.
Fantastic.
Of course.
The reason I'm asking a 4-year-old is if we were to look at the amount of children that were killed in Palestine, you're shaking your head. I don't know why. Why are you shaking your head?
Because
it's almost half. So what does that say to me? This is an issue on children being killed in a war. Now, on top of that, these children, when me and you are long gone, who's going to be the people to replace us? It's going to be the children,
but you're indoctrinating this 3 or 4-year-old child.
Let me finish.
Good.
I didn't indoctrinate shit. He was at the protests and I was making content. That's the reality. I didn't ring up mum and go, listen, mum, can you make a sign and make sure he turns up? And when I say, is it a hate march? Make sure your kid says no. No, don't try and represent it like that. That's not what happened. He already said what he was saying. His mum said what he's saying. I just documented it. Remember my gonzo journalism. Anyway, here's the truth of the matter, sir. If you want to call us a hate march, I showed the hate march. These videos, you might hate them. I posted one yesterday, got 8 million views with over 1.4 million likes. Am I going to listen to somebody that, no offense, in my opinion, is a little bit biased and sees it as indoctrination? Or am I going to listen to the 1.5 million people that liked that video and gone, wow, there's humanity here?
But forgive me, are they liking it because it's good entertainment? Or are they liking it because they respect the fact that a 4-year-old is being told to say this ain't a hate march? Is it not just entertainment?
It's humanity. For them, imagine going on Instagram and Twitter and seeing people being blown up. Then you go to the news and go check out everybody right now, go to a newspaper and go see the front page. Nothing to do with the Palestinians dying. And for once, even though we've been gaslit by the mainstream media, we have hope that even though this is an issue of left and right, it's no longer an issue of left and right. It's an issue of young and old, okay? You want to call it indoctrination?
Are you?
Let's say 100, 300 years ago, there were kids at a no more slavery march. Why are you bringing kids into slavery? Allow them to grow up in a world where slavery is okay. I refute the premise that having kids at the protests is somehow a bad thing.
Hang on. No one said it's a bad thing.
But it is.
We're not on the issue of having kids at the march.
Yes, we are.
What
You
about
just said that I
dogs? What
indoctrinated
about
them.
dogs? What about dogs? Let's have a look at dogs,
Sure.
right? We've got a clip here of dogs wearing Palestinian scarves, right? Let's just watch it.
Okay. I've seen the video, yeah. What's your point?
Dogs on display. I mean,
What's your
my
point?
question of
Am I
you-
indoctrinating the dogs?
Well, I don't
Are the
know.
dogs Hamas?
No, my question of you, you're laughing, right? My question of you
I'm laughing because I don't know what...
Hang on.
All right.
Why are there dogs? Why are you filming dogs wearing Palestinian scarves and then putting them out on social media? Are you simply trying to get views? That's my question. Of
course I'm trying to get
Hang
views.
on. This is a question that I'd like you to answer, right? Do you feel that there's an element here of capitalising on this global tragedy with an underlying desire of getting views for yourself?
Sure, let me
That's my
answer.
question.
Sure,
I'm
sure,
not
sure.
making any
Sure.
accusation.
Listen.
But when you put dogs on display with Palestinian scarves, someone might say this guy's just trying to get views.
Do you know what I see it as? If I was if I was walking my dog at a protest and they were wearing a cute scarf and someone filmed a cute, clearly from what you're saying, it sounds like you don't understand TikTok. Yes, it's about getting views. Why would I film these videos to get attention and get 100k views? What's the point? Why did you bring me on? Do you want 10 views? No. You want 1 million views. Are you capitalizing by bringing me on?
But are you seeking these views
Let's
for
be
your,
honest,
for
you're
your own career
Yeah,
progression?
I'm really happy that my family call me up, asking me to pay for funerals, and I've got every single DM I've got and every email is about people asking me if I can fundraise them so they can raise $8,000 to get out of their country, where brand deals won't work with me now. People think I'm a terrorist sympathizer. They think I'm anti-Semitic. The media hate me. The racists and the far right hate me. But I got to film a fucking video with a couple dogs. Worth it.
What?
Come on, Jeremy. You know who I am. That's such a outlandish way of trying to take content and go, he's using it for the view. Yes, I want views, but at the same time, I'm trying to humanise the Palestinian cause. Do you know why? Because there's unfair bullshit representation of the Palestinian cause. So if I need to reach out to the youth and I need to film videos of people that are at protests and I want to film a dog wearing a keffiyeh, guess what? I'm going to do that, bro. And if it gets 1 million views, boo-hoo.
And then just before we move on to the final clip, sorry, just to be clear, Goob, your reason for filming dogs wearing Palestinian scarves and there's laughter in the background is what?
Humanity, brother. I'm trying.
What does that mean?
Okay, listen. Imagine.
What does that mean?
I'm telling you right
Humanity,
now.
brother.
Go on Instagram right now and go on Eye on Palestine and go look at all the videos of the kids that are being blown up, and then go on TikTok and look at my videos with the dogs. Humanity. That's what I'm trying to do.
I'm sorry, I don't follow what you mean by humanity.
It's a slit. Do you remember? You know, you live in England. Here's a great analogy for you. When you look up and you see a grey, cloudy, shit day, and it's all the clouds, but you see that little hole, and then the sun gets through, and it warms your face for a second.
Right.
Humanity, brother.
Okay.
It reminds us that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
Not everything is doom and gloom. Not everything is anti-Semitic. Not everything is about me making money off of my people dying.
Fine. Last clip before we draw to a conclusion, which I'd just like to get your take on, is this one, which shows a family with some young children, not quite as young, talking about Rishi Sunak, the British Prime Minister, and the whole concept of genocide. If we could just watch it. Sorry, can we just play it one more time? So it's Rishi Sunak, what did you say?
What did you say? How many kids did you kill today?
Yeah. Rishi Sunak, what did you say? How many kids did you kill today? You have to stop this genocide.
I went from the beginning again. Okay. What's your point?
So what we've got here is we've got a family. You're filming this family. You're next to them. You're smiling. They are smiling. Sure. They are smiling. They're singing this as if it's a nursery rhyme. Sure. They're talking about the UK Prime Minister being guilty of genocide. Yes, that's what they're talking about, right? They're being encouraged to. They live in this country. They are citizens, presumably, of this country. They appear to have hatred towards the UK Prime Minister.
I hate the Prime Minister. What's your point?
My question is, you know, do you think it healthy that a family, including sort of young children, are parading themselves on the street of London, expressing hatred for the UK Prime Minister?
I couldn't be more proud of them. And let me allow you some let me give you some context. That wasn't even my video. They came up to me and said, hey, we have a chant. Would you mind being in our story for us? And my cameraman was filming at the time. So actually, it had nothing to do with me. They asked if they could film. They'd seen the videos. Now, anyway, that's irrelevant because what you're asking is, it's hateful that these kids are criticising our Prime Minister. But
no,
you're looking at a Conservative Prime Minister that has he's losing seats like you wouldn't imagine. He's got the lowest ratings that the Tories have seen in over 20, 30 years. I mean, I can't remember the last time that a political institute have lost this many seats. So what I'm seeing actually is that the future of this country, they speak English. I'm sure their parents pay tax. They're English, would you agree?
I've just said they're UK citizens.
Okay. So they're English. Are they not allowed to scrutinise their Prime Minister?
It's not
that the whole country seems to have a problem with.
It's not just the Prime Minister, Goub. Just finally on this, what we've got here on a Saturday afternoon, we've got a family including children.
Sure.
With a very influential character such as you, smiling and laughing next to them.
Sure.
Expressing hatred towards talking about genocide. This is not healthy.
Would you rather these people petrol bombed government buildings?
No, but
would you rather these people went and self-immolated like Aaron Bushnell outside the Israeli embassy? No, you wouldn't. Why are you moaning about a couple kids that are actually watching their people get demolished online? And they have a saying, a tongue-in-cheek saying. It's the grassroots of political...
It's not tongue-in-cheek to accuse a government...
My tongue was in my cheek when they were...
Forgive me, it's not tongue-in-cheek to accuse a government whose citizens have been slaughtered, maimed, raped and kidnapped and being held hostage. It's not tongue-in-cheek to sing a nursery rhyme about genocide, is it? It's not tongue-in-cheek to sing a nursery rhyme on the streets of London about genocide.
Would you rather that they started singing some kind of racist... Like, do you know what I mean? If it's racism, you're like, it's racism, point it out. When it's not racism, you still have a problem. What resistance is allowed, Jeremy? What political activism is allowed, Jeremy? Do you get it? Do you see the issue here, brother?
I think on that question...
It doesn't make sense.
On that question...
I think those kids are heroes. And if they ask me again, I would have said it. Let's do it again. Guys, lights, camera, make sure you get the whole video. I'm proud of those kids for what they did.
Goub, the word hero is one you use time and time again.
Sure.
When you interview children Palestinian pro-Palestinian marches, which you do a lot, and there's a lot of footage. You constantly describe them as heroes. You do that a lot, right?
Yeah.
They don't know what they're talking about. You're leading them to believe.
Don't teach them.
Forgive me. You are leading them to believe that they are heroes because they are expressing hatred for another.
Show me one clip where a kid expressed hatred. Apart from the Rishi Sunak one, show me a clip.
There is a clip.
And that wasn't hatred, by the way.
There is a clip, for example.
Where was the kid that was like, I hate Jews? Where is it?
Sorry?
Show me
no,
the
I
evidence.
never said that they... I never said...
How dare you?
I never said that they said they hate Jews.
I'm sorry, but I can't allow you to get away with that. What you're trying to do is take a beautiful, innocent piece of content that shows humanity and shows hope for the future. Not one of those kids asked for violence. Not one of those kids...
Yes, they did. There is a clip which I... There is a clip in the course of which a 4 or 5-year-old says the words, "Nut on you, go to hell," and you laugh quite...
That is hilarious. Netanyahu, go to hell, yeah.
If that sort of expression of... But that is a wider... that is a wider expression of hatred.
He should go to hell. Okay. And it wasn't actually... he didn't say anything violent. He said, go to hell. It's religious, if anything. Look,
that's not
you can
violent.
try your hardest.
That's not violent.
Everybody... No, of course it's not violent. Where's the violence? Do you want to see violence? I'll show you a couple of videos of what happened in Palestine yesterday. That's real violence, if you want to speak about it. But that being said, sorry, I'm getting wound up. But look, this is the truth. You can try to demonize what I do with the children as much as you want. At the end of the day, it's about the majority. Am I breaking any rules? Am I doing anything illegal? No and no. Then, public perception of the videos. You don't see what people say to me when they come up to me. They cry, say, thank you, please interview my child. Yeah. You have no idea what these people at home think about the videos. And if anything is true, the data alone, the empirical data, being the likes, the engagement, the comments, show me that I'm right and you're wrong in this instance. So that's just me.
Forgive me, can we conclude on this? When you say you're right and I'm wrong, right about wrong, you're right about what,
you're
and I'm wrong
demonising
about
me using children in the videos.
Well,
I'm telling you why it's a slither of hope in a world that seems bleak and full of futility.
I have not demonised you. I have asked you. No, I've asked you to explain your line of reasoning.
You demonised me and tried to make out that there was violent rhetoric in the videos. That's
no, I've said to you.
That's literally everyone at home. Google demonisation, please.
I have said to you that there is a clip in the course of which a young child says,
"You said that they
nut on you, go to hell."
You said that
and there is laughter. And
go to hell is figurative. Go to hell, you piece of shit. Right. Not, I'm going to smash your teeth in because you're killing my people. That's violence.
All right. Well, look, what I would say to you, Goub, we're going to draw it to a conclusion now, right, is this, that we started on the premise that this is a unique situation where you are actually a very close family friend, and we're very proud to have you. We're very proud to have you as a family friend.
I appreciate
We've
that.
explored many features, and you've given your explanations. All right, maybe I could just ask you this. I mean, to conclude, if you had a message for both sides of what I'll call the conflict, right? I don't necessarily believe that the word conflict is the right word, but I'll use that conflict, right? So let's assume that you had an array of influential figures on both sides, and you were able to give a message to all of them together, sitting there together. What would your message be?
I think my end note would be shalom and salam. That would be the main thing. Shalom and salam. But before I would say that, liberation. Liberation.
All right.
That's it.
All right, good. Well, thank you very much indeed. It's been great seeing you.
It's been a pleasure, mate. I've missed you. It's good to see you
Thank you
again.
so much. And thank you very much for encouraging me to get this tattoo, which is the burning bush and is extremely special to me.
I
As
love
said,
burning the bush as well, so
it will always remind me
common
of
ground.
you.
My man, appreciate you.
Thank you.